All right, so I want to make this video. I actually stopped training planche. I used to be a big advocate on planche. You can see my planche training videos. I think I got a straddle planche video up, but I kind of wanted to just make this as a PSA for people who are training for the planche. I used to think the planche was like super cool because gymnasts can do it. It's a very elite level move. Like if you can do the planche, you're in the top 1%. But there are some drawbacks that I've kind of realized after, I don't know, 2 years of planche training. I mean, I made really good progress. I haven't trained for it in a while, but I mean, I've made decent, like really good progress. I was at full planche. Protraction and form was great, but I want to share with you some of the actual downsides that I noticed with it. But yeah, anyways, so the first thing that I did notice was a lot of shoulder issues, shoulder and bicep tendon issues specifically. So when you're doing planche, you're putting a lot of tension, straight arm. So you're turning out your elbows and stuff, and then just your shoulder joint just gets destroyed. All that pressure, you have to build up to it, and that's why it takes so long to actually land the planche, because you have to spend so much time conditioning yourself. So that was the first thing. I just noticed a lot of major injuries, and I wasn't overtraining. I was doing about 2 times per week. The volume was pretty good, not too intense, nothing too crazy, but I did notice that. So that was the first thing. But then the second thing was, you'll notice as you get more advanced with the planche is that in order to be able to hold it with good form, you need to protract your scapula. So doing all of this kind of stuff, right? Doing this and being able to hold it makes it easier, and then also protect your elbows and your shoulders. But it does come with its drawbacks. So one thing that I noticed was I was getting more rounded shoulders. My everything was getting pushed forward, and when you're pushing away like this constantly, you're doing this every single week, you're intentionally pushing your shoulders forward. So now you walk around and you have these rounded shoulders. You can work with this, you do things to try and fix it, but at the same time, why would you intentionally round your shoulders? That means you just have to do corrective exercises like face pulls if you want to keep it fixed. But I did notice this got really problematic. So I started to notice that my scapula specifically. So if you notice, you may not be able to see it, but if I lift my arms up in the air, this left side, it doesn't go up the same, and there's this thing that pops out. And it just means that my scapula isn't whatever attached. I'm not a physical therapist, but there's something wrong with the scapula. So you'll see, I'll raise my arms up. Notice how this trap in this shoulder is higher? There's something going on with the back of the scapula. So that was another big issue that I noticed, and that happens when you have rounded shoulders. This happens to a lot of people if they work a desk job and they're spending so much time sitting forward and they get just bad posture. It builds up over time, but I noticed the planche accelerated it. I always sit with good posture. I don't slouch. I don't walk around with hunchback shoulders. So this was the only reason. And so now I've pretty much been doing a lot of corrective exercises to get my shoulder and my upper back strength back. So I did notice that. I noticed like my shoulders in general, just they're more rounded and then they hurt more. Like I have to do significantly more to not have rounded shoulders. And that was because I trained planche for the last 2 years. So just keep that in mind. Keep that in mind. There's nothing wrong with training planche. It's a very cool skill to have, but there's a reason why a lot of people drop off or they just don't train it. It is because it has a lot of issues, especially with your joints. I mean, come on, you're holding your whole body weight on your arms. Like, it doesn't really make sense to me, and it takes years of conditioning. That's why gymnasts, they don't get their full planches until like 2 to 3 years in. I mean, granted, you could unlock a straddle planche in like 6 months, but at the same time, you're just doing a lot of accelerated damage, and your recovery has to be on point. So there's that. What would you do instead if you want to still do? I'm a big believer in straight arm exercises. Don't get me wrong. Like if you're doing like Zanetti press, if you're doing cable presses, you should keep doing those because those are great for building up the joint strength and then building up your arms, your biceps, and your front delt. So I would keep doing those. But I would just be careful with them, especially like Zanetti press. Don't go heavy on Zanetti presses. That's my favorite exercise, but you got to do like higher reps and lower weight. You got to progress up to it. Right now I'm at about 25 pounds. So I don't go too heavy, but I do it for like 15 reps and I do it very slowly. So Zanetti press, your cable presses, again, just go light. You don't want to overextend yourself on a cable and then rip your bicep. That'd be stupid. So keep doing straight arm exercises, but don't go as hard with the planche. Oh, that also brings me to another point. You can do planche press exercises. These aren't going to cause issues like pseudo push-ups. You're actually going to get a lot of back activation, especially if you're keeping your shoulders protracted. You're going to feel this whole back working on pseudo push-ups. I like pseudo push-ups with the press. So I'll go here, keep my shoulders and everything protracted, go down, press. I believe this actually works better because even though you have the protraction, you're not going to have any, either of your arms like caving in. So you're not going to have any imbalances with your arms when you're doing push-ups. Like sometimes when people do push-ups, they'll be going down, but one elbow will be caving in more. One will be doing more than the other, and you won't be able to see it because it's behind you. So I've honestly found that planche push-ups, I don't believe that they're too big of a factor. I mean, I still feel my scapula. I feel the pain in it a little bit, but I don't believe it's from the planche push-ups. I believe it's from the planche holds. All the banded holds that I've done, all the accessory work related to protractions specifically. I believe that was the issue, not the actual planche push-ups. Because I do presses all the time. I'm a big fan of the presses because you get the overhead shoulder motion. So, like, even if we're doing like, okay, so we're doing pseudo, right? Pseudo to a press. You still get that overhead shoulder press, which is great. I've also been messing around with Mike Tyson push-ups a lot lately. They're pretty good because you get full body. You get the squat, you get the press, and then you get the overhead as well. So here, I've been finding these a lot more effective. Just easier on the body, more total work, like this just feels better, and not as much wear and tear on the shoulders. They actually improve your shoulder health. So that, another thing too, actually, I've been doing, everything's been to correct my shoulders from all this protraction. So I've also been doing bear crawls. Bear crawls are great. Like, they really realign your shoulders. I honestly can't even say how good they are because they've just basically transformed my shoulders. They hit all three heads of the shoulder, and then they work in a way that is more natural to you. Like humans used to crawl around and stuff. Like, so it's just more natural. And then that constant overhead tension, it's not enough to cause issues. Like if you were to jump into like a handstand, you would probably wreck your shoulders because you haven't built up that time, the ability to your shoulders to withstand the pressure from a handstand. But for bear crawls, that's the thing, is like there's not too much tension. Like you could, as you're in here and you're moving, it's just very light. It's very light on your shoulders, but it moves the shoulder like all across the shoulder girdle. You get some lat in there, like you see how smooth that glides, and then you can go lower as you get more comfortable with it. Yeah, it just feels really good, and you'll notice a lot of improvement in your shoulders, especially if you have a lot of pain when it comes to pushing. Like I know a lot of people can't do push-ups because it actually hurts their shoulders, and I don't blame them. Like I probably won't be able to do push-ups. There'd be a point where I just won't do any push-ups. Not that they're bad. It's just like you're hammering your front delt. You're putting so much pressure on it, and when you can do these other exercises like bear crawls, and if you're just starting out with bear crawls too, like you can progress it. Like I know some people that start like all the way overhead like this, just walking, and this works great. But as you start to progress, you can start to get lower and lower, down like this. Yep. So that's been another favorite for my shoulder series. Another thing too with getting your shoulders back into alignment has been handstands. Just holding handstands, hopping up on the wall, being able to hold yourself. This is going to do a lot for your overhead and your upper back. One of the exercises that I honestly recommend beginners start out with is just being able to do a wall supported overhead hold like this. This is also a really good stretch. But getting up here, walking yourself up, you got to be careful. Walk yourself up. Holding this, and then keeping you want your head, so you want your head to go all the way through here. And then that way you're looking like this, and then your whole body's in alignment. So you're like this, and then you can slowly start kicking off the wall. Here, kick off the wall. Then you walk back down. Don't do that if you're a beginner, if you've never done handstands. But as you start getting more shoulder strength, those are amazing. They've really helped. They really help build up that stability because you're just keeping your hands above your head with more pressure. Like it's no different than holding your hands up above your head without anything. I mean, it's kind of like if you could just take a bar, like a heavy bar, and then just hold it above your head. That would work, but it's not the same thing. This like keeps you in alignment. But that's been another good one. And yeah, as far as any other accessories, you got to give it to the rear delts as well. You got to hit the rear delts. So you're doing face pulls, you're doing rear delt flies, especially like with cables. Cables are really good. I got some cables right now. Let me grab them. I'll show you the rear delt exercise I've been doing. But yeah, a lot of beginners will learn a couple years into their lifting journey or training that they basically neglected their rear delts. And then they find out that their chest is overdeveloped. You'll see it in a lot of lifters. And then they just get this imbalance. It's what happened to me. It's what the physio told me. He was like, yeah, your chest is just too developed. It's over contracting. That's why your shoulders are rounding forward. And you need to train your rear delts more. I was like, okay, let me do that. So I did. And then I came up with a few exercises. This is my favorite one. Like, your rear delts will actually grow from this because it's actually a really good exercise. I also do these with side delts as well. I got a resistance band side delt exercise. But no, I just been hammering these. And they feel really good. Like, my shoulders just move way better afterwards. So I'll be here. I'll take this. I usually oh yeah, by the way, I wrapped it around. So this is a resistance band with like a little loop at the end. I just wrapped it around like that. So then I'll put it down like this. I'll take this, I'll like double wrap it basically. And then I'll kind of scoot forward so like you can feel that there's a stretch. And also too, like my body is basically straight in line with this cable. Like you can see my arm is right here. The cable is right here. So direct, straight line. You can call it like a 45. You'll see. When I bring my arm across, this is going to be almost like a 45. See like that? See where it is right now? That's 45. This would be 90. And then this would be 0. So it's at a 45. So I just let it roll out like this. And I just pull it. And then you go slow. And if you need more tension, you just scoot back. Like sometimes it's just not tight enough. Or you can double wrap it again. But sometimes you run out of cord. So it'd be here. You just pull it. And you go like this. And you do these for pretty high reps, like 15 to 20. But if you go slow, it burns like crazy. But it feels great. It feels so good. And I actually noticed my shoulders just started growing from this. I just start adding each week, I'll add more reps. So like week 1, I was doing like 12 very slow reps. And then week 2, I was doing like 15. And this was basically to failure. Like I couldn't do any more reps after this. Like even right now, I'm going kind of fast. I was going slower than this. And I might have had more tension too. But I just added a little bit more reps each week. Now I'm at like 25 or 30. But nah, shoulders have been like blown up. Because most people, I read a study too. So most people's rear delts are, like the average lifter, it's only 15% more developed than the average non-lifter. Because nobody trains the rear delts. And they're actually very hard to train. Like any compound exercise you're doing, if you're doing rows, if you're doing pull-ups, it doesn't even hit your rear delts. Your rear delts are like their own beast. They're almost like calves, but they don't get developed because you never use them. And yeah, so I read that. It was like most people just don't have any rear delts. And if you look, they don't have any rear delts either. That's just one of those muscles that will like, it's a sleeper. Like you need it for if you're doing heavy pushing. And then you also need it if you want to like blow up your shoulders. Like you can only train your side delt as like too much. There's only so much side delt work you can do and front delt. You just got to blow up your rear delt as well. Speaking of side delt, so there's also that other side delt exercise that I do with this band. Pretty amazing. This thing has worked wonders. Like you'd be surprised. It's not about the weight. It's not like you can have all the heavy weights you want, but if you're not using it right, it doesn't do anything. So like I've been doing these. You see the shoulders are like, I got decent sized shoulders. Like nothing like crazy, but like I still got some shoulder muscle. And I don't even really, because I haven't had any weights. Like I barely got any dumbbells. All I got is this resistance band, literally. And anyway, so what I do is I put it down in that bottom loop, and then for like some extra tension, I'll just hold this other band. And then I'll take this. Sometimes I'll lean a little bit, and then I'll pull this all the way up and out like this. Even this is like kind of loose. And then I'll let it go all the way across. See, it's still loose, so I'll pull it a little bit higher. See, I'm pulling it like this. Pull a little bit higher. Pull this all the way up. Get that full stretch. I can already feel it. And then I just let it back down. Very slow. Like you do not have to do many reps of these. Like this. It's completely isolated. This is what much better than just doing flies. That's why your shoulders aren't growing with flies. Or not flies, raises. Like my shoulders are already on fire and I've only done 5 reps. This directly hits the side delt, just isolates it. So I'm like pulling all the way up like this. My goodness, it burns. Yeah, so there's that one. I also kind of mess around with this one too. Not that it really does much, but after I've done like those sets, I might just take this and just go like this. Just for fun. These are great if you have like a machine where you can go all the way up. Like, see, the resistance band's kind of limited when I'm stepping on it. But resistance bands are goated. I mean, there's so much exercise you can do with resistance bands. Like, you can take this thing, roll it up top like this, and then do squats. And if you do enough of these, your quads are going to be burning. You only got to do like 20 of these. You can do curls. Curls are so good with these. Curl up. I don't even like to do them like this, actually. I like to take them and do basically hammer curl style. So like this. I'll just go up like that. Tricep extensions. My goodness, those are great as well. Forgot about those. Just take these. With triceps, you got to make sure you get a stretch. They're all about the stretch. That's the only way you grow your triceps is by getting a stretch. And with most muscle groups, you got to get a stretch. Like even chest grow, you got to get a stretch. Don't get me wrong, it can grow if you're doing heavy weights, but most of the time you just got to get a stretch on it. Like triceps. You take this and you go all the way overhead. Let it sink back, and this is where you get the stretch. Right here. You can also do like tricep kickbacks. I've never really done those, but I mean, you could do them. I kind of feel it. It's all right. Chest. Yeah, chest, you want to get that stretch. These aren't my favorite for chest, but you can still pull them off. It's just not heavy enough. Like with the other ones, you could get enough stretch. Like, even this, it's just not heavy enough. The band's gonna break before I get enough stretch. But yeah, stretch and the amount of time it takes you to do the exercise, those are basically the things that actually make the muscle grow. Like, it's not Also, too, getting stronger. You want to make sure you're getting stronger, of course. But like those are really the actual main things that allow for muscle growth. Is just spending so much time getting this thing stretched out, and then giving it enough time as well. Like your sets should be like super long. That's why you don't have to do many sets. Like a lot of people are doing 3 to 5 sets for an exercise. You don't have to do all that. Like you can get away with just 1 or 2. If you go hard enough, muscle gets grown in the 5 to 30 rep range. A lot of people think it's like just 12 reps. Your body doesn't know what 12 reps is. Like, or you think it's just gonna not build muscle because it's at 12 reps. That's not how it works. No, it builds muscle 5 to 30 reps. 5 on the lower end for like, you ever notice like powerlifters, sometimes they'll be like jacked, but that's because they're doing like lower reps. They're building strength. And that middle range is pretty much more, it's better, it's more ideal. 8 to 12, really. It's just measurable. But if you're taking things to failure, take it all the way up to like 30. That's the ideal rep range. I would say 8 to 30. For beginners, you don't want to go super low, like 5 reps. You're just going to get hurt. It's just kind of stupid on your end because your form, you got to master your form. Make sure that's good. And you're kind of just going heavy where you can't control the form. But anyone who's like starting out, go for like 8 reps. That's a good way to measure your progress. And then drop set. Drop set everything. So like, for example, first set, what I'll do is I'll go 8 reps because I can track it. Like say I'm doing push-ups. I'll go 8 reps and I'll make sure it's like barely any reps left in the tank. Call it like 8 to 12. And then I'll go, so there'd be like no reps in the tank. Let's say I pick, for me push-ups, like handstand push-ups. It would be like 8 push-ups. And then the second set, I'll try and get that same 8 reps again. I probably won't get it, but I'll try. And then I'll drop set everything. So that first main exercise is just to kind of like track my progress. But that second set is to build more muscle. So like that first set, I'm going to keep getting stronger on it. Like next week, I'm going to try and do 10 reps and then 12 reps. And I'm going to pick a harder exercise and then go back down to 8 reps. So like that's how I get stronger. But that second set is what I use to build muscle. You see what I mean? Like you see how that works? That second set, I take that thing to absolute failure. I'm talking, I'll do the probably like 6 to 8 handstand push-ups, and then I'll drop set it and go into something a little bit easier, maybe like handstand walkout, and then I'll do that for like 5 reps, and then I'll drop set it again, and I'll go into like pike push-ups, and then I'll drop set it again and do like another 5 reps of like Mike Tyson push-ups, and then I'll drop set it again and do like regular push-ups all the way till I get to like 30 reps. And that's really how I get the most out of my sets, because I only do like 2 sets and I barely do any exercises. Like I don't waste my time doing multiple different exercises. I just pick like 3 to 5 exercises, bang them all out, and then I'm done in like 30 minutes. That way I'm only spending like 90 minutes a week working out, but I hit everything. I do that a couple times a week, and then it works. You get this crazy pump afterwards. You barely spend any time in the gym. You're barely like, it's just more efficient. You don't have to sit around and wait for stuff. You don't have to like track your rest time, because you just pick 2 different exercises. Like I do like the upper body exercise and then do like a lower body exercise. And then next set, upper body, lower body. Upper body, lower body. And it's like you don't have to rest. It's just upper and lower, like 2 different muscles. And yeah, so that's really the method. There's not a whole lot to building muscle. Like I'm telling you, if you're eating right, if you're training hard and taking things to failure, kind of like keeping an eye on your progress. Obviously, there's different situations for when you want to build strength and when you want to just maximize muscle growth. But for the most part, focus on getting stronger. Focus on taking the thing to failure. And there's no reason why you're not going to build muscle. Like it's pretty straightforward. Your body, it's willing to put on muscle as long as you got your diet locked in. That's even more important, actually. Get your diet locked in. Make sure you got your testosterone up. You shouldn't have low testosterone, and that's it just sabotages your progress. So do everything in your power to get your testosterone up. I put a whole testosterone grocery guide. Literally anyone can follow. Like you can go and get the grocery guide. It's gonna tell you exactly what to buy. Tell you exactly how to eat. It's got the meal plans on there. Just go and download that, and that will fix your testosterone. And do what I'm doing right now. Like go and get some sunlight. This helps so much. Most of us are deficient in sunlight. It's crazy. Like 50% of the world is deficient in sunlight. And it's just such, literally, sunlight is one of your main hormones. Like, could you imagine if you didn't have testosterone in your body? How do you think you would be? You would be basically a woman. Like, if you're a man, I'm not saying that to be like misogynist. You would just be you'd be biologically a woman. But anyways, yeah. So you would have a very hard time building muscle. You're missing the hormone that is what is inside of a man that gives you the ability to do all the things: burn muscle, build muscle, burn fat, all that stuff. But yeah, back to what I was saying. So fix your lifestyle, get rid of your seed oils, start eating more real foods, go outside, get some sunlight, get your steps in, get your 7 to 9 hours of sleep. You start doing all this, like, results come fast. Your body wants to change. It's just been used to the modern condition. It's been used to that for so long that you think it's hard to change. Well, if you start doing these, man, I'm telling you, you'll be a different person in like 3 to 4 months. Like, these are night and day differences. These are the bottom of the iceberg. Everything else, diet and training, that's all tip of the iceberg. This is like next step. You start doing this, like, it's so easy to transform your body. You're just way ahead of everyone. So yeah, go ahead, take these tips, take this advice, apply what you want. Hope you learned something, and yeah, see you in the next video. Peace.